Hey guys, so I'm at the garage again today. About where we are every time we go to work on something. But the sun's out, so I've got some really bad bleaching going on with the lights, the camera, so I'm trying to stay over here where you can kind of see me a little bit. This would be the day 2 or second stage of the cheap flatbed build. And so other than materials here at the garage, I haven't spent any more money. But I did get excited when I got here today, and we worked on some yesterday, and I've done a little bit more than I intended to before starting the camera back up again. So let me give you a walk around, show you what we've done. It's not been big steps. I'll explain why we've done a few things, and we'll move on. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to look into the sun, but if you'll notice here, I've got a pile of metal laying here on the ground. The reason I have a pile of metal laying on the ground is because there was a piece of angle iron there. There was a piece of angle iron there where them gloves are at, and then there was the box here, which ended up being in the way of one of my supports. Which, you know, eventually there will be a fender come down through here, and you can see we've cut a little bit here because me and Dad made a nice little cardboard template of where that tire is going to end up. I am going to end up adding some skirting into the side of this, so that hole will be filled in where you see the angle iron, and that fender well is still there. But I cut that one over there out. It's gone. I done that so we can kind of see how things are going. The mud flat plates, you can see where they were. I had a hard time getting my frame in place with those in the way, so I've cut them out. And there was another one right there. So now that I've got them cut out, and I've called Brian and went ahead and ordered some metal for reworking this. I'm going to replace this entire piece here that's 30 inches. In this area. That way that's I'm gonna get rid of this middle piece and of course replace the fender wells to where it's one flat piece. And we flipped the bed upside down so I can work on it some, and we can fit that test fit it in place. And all those brackets are the ones that I previously had sitting on the frame that would bolt to the truck frame. And so right now what I'm doing is I've got, this is the old gooseneck hitch that came off my truck. That's a B&W flip over ball. I'm going to continue to use that because why go buy another one when I have that one? I've got some cuts made there. I've got some lines made there where I'm about to cut that out. And the reason for that is I cleaned the brackets up, and they're sitting over here. I put them in the solution to get most of the rust off of them. So I'm going to hit them with a wire wheel just a little bit, not much. There's not much to get off of them. And I will actually put them back on the frame where they came from. They bolted here and here, and there was a piece went here. We might not reuse the U-bolts because I got so much other stuff, but we're going to bolt them back to the frame, and then the hitch is going to weld into that framework, and it'll bolt to the plates that are on the outside of this, so it'll help tie the bed even more to the frame, even as if it wasn't already, because it's already bolted here and there, and like 3 places back here on this end of the frame, and of course same across that side over there. So it will be well adjusted to the frame, and I might even make some drop downs attached here. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do on that. I might just make plates that come off of these and extend down to the bumper to kind of help hold it. So I am going to spend some time getting dirty. I'm going to take a wire wheel to that some. I'm going to go ahead and take the cutting wheel and cut those out. And then we'll do a test fit and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how well we can do this. In a bond.
Oh, take yours up and let me scoot that way. Is that pineapple to scoot?
Take that ball right there.
Come to me.
Uh-oh. I might have to make some maneuvering.
Well, just think how long it is.
You gotta come on down.
Well, thing is Dave's channel, it needs to go back that way.
Oh yeah?
So I'm not quite.
So you're not cut. Right here's what's holding you, this one and this one.
Yep.
And this channel holding you up here.
Well, that channel has got to come down and sit right there. So I got to open this. I got to open this up.
On the front of each one of them.
Yep.
On this side and that side.
So I'm gonna lift, take it back, right there. That's mine right there. I can work it right there.
Here, let me pick it up. Let me take it over this little bit. There you go.
Okay. Good enough. All right, guys, so this is day 4. And no, I did not forget how to count. We've been working a lot off camera just so I can move this process along with as few videos as possible and giving you guys updates along the way. If there's anything you want to know more specifically about, ask questions about it afterwards and we'll try and get you some good information on it. But I'm going to walk you through everything that was done yesterday with no camera roll whatsoever. And I'll talk about what happened at the end of day 2 because I didn't close out day 2. So here we go. Okay, so the first most obvious thing is the wrecker bed's actually on the truck. And so in doing so, we actually put it up on there with the centerpiece and the fender wells in place. Well, the one fender well, we already had the one cut out. So there is both fender wells right there. And let me move this out of the way. The centerpiece with the D-ring and everything is sitting right there. Cut that out yesterday with our little old plasma cutter. Not a big one. I think it's only like 50 amp, and sometimes I question whether it's actually 50 amp or not, but it seems to do the trick. We didn't cut that up until we got it up here in place because we lifted by the center ring that was in it. Because we had this, the last thing you guys seen, we set this on the frame. And when we done that, I cut holes for the gooseneck hitch. And so the gooseneck hitch is in there, and I've actually put a weld on top of it. And then I've got to, when we take it apart, I'll weld around the other side of it. I've got to put a spacer in right here down under this piece of angle to keep it from bending there. But yeah, so this is done. This is bolted to the truck now completely. Like there's bolts everywhere. And let me see here if I can get. Notice I got my 2 bolts right there. I got 2 right there. There's a couple more up in there. And then the ones on the front. So the frame's actually bolted to the truck right now, and the gooseneck hitch is bolted to the truck, and it's welded to the frame. So it is now married in holy matrimony together forever, unless somebody gets a cutting wheel or plasma cutter. And I will finish welding all the way around that. I left a big gap because I ended up having to change some stuff, so I've either got to fill a lot of gap, which I'm kind of used to. It's going to look like booger weld, but it'll hold because I'm welding hot and making sure I'm getting plenty of penetration. This is not one of those videos where you look at how awesome the welds are, because they will hold, they are strong, they are not the prettiest welds you will ever see in your life, but they will be just fine. So, and I've got to weld the underneath sides of those angles because those was added in. And I think that's pretty well it for that conversation. So I will climb up in the bed of the truck and show you what we're dealing with here. Second. Okay. So, gooseneck hitch. Spent a good time yesterday getting this all kind of squared away. Putting these in here. This is going to be the area where my tray is going to move out of this in order to get to my gooseneck hitch. And that is a B&W flip over ball that was originally in my truck with the original bed. And it was great. I have no complaints about this hitch except for if you have one of these. I'm sorry if I'm not always in focus, guys. I'm trying to climb around on this stuff, sit down. But if you have one of these, you know that it originally has a rod that comes out this side over here on the driver's side and runs to the outside where the tires are. Then you would pull the rod from out here and pull to the side and hope that it sticks. Then you would climb up in the bed and go to pull your ball out, flip it over, and you would be very gentle because there's a possibility the pin could come back in and then you're stuck again. You can see the pin that's down in that hole. I'm touching my finger right now. It's down below this little piece. So anyways, what I done yesterday is me and Dad has put this piece together. This is just a hinge point, all this is. And I reused the rod to where it comes here in the tray. So when you open this tray up, I'm going to have my pin here. These will be my holes for my chains. Well, I'll put my rings back in there. Then I'm going to put my trailer connector down here. So I've got to do that still. But yes, so there's the flip over ball. So I will grab this, pull this right here. Oh, I can't hardly do it right now. Pull that way, and that lever opens up. Now when that lever opens up, you got to hold it. Right now I've got my foot wedge. Two hands makes this a lot easier. The ball comes up. And it's kind of, I need to grease this thing. But yeah, and now the pin's back in the way again. It's hard to do with one hand. I'll get back to that later, but you guys get the idea. That'll slide out of there, and I probably can't pull it now because I've got that pin in the way. I'm trying to set on the angle iron here and not fall through everything. There we go. Nudge. So, tell you what, let me set this camera up to where I can use both hands and show you how simple it is with two hands. Alright, now I've got the camera kind of sitting in place. So, in theory, I'll be up in the bed. I'm not going to step below the angle to kind of give you the idea, but I'll be able to get down here on my bed floor. It'll be easier because I won't have to pick certain places to sit. But, pull that. I've got that cockeyed now because kick it. Fall off this stuff for sure. Back in. Let. No. Back in. And you can see the pin goes back in like that right there. So just that hole right there. So I'll do that there. My chains will be here, and I'm gonna put my 7-pin plug will be back here in this corner, kind of out of the way. And I'll make my hinge mechanism. I'm gonna copy a few things off of. I'm not gonna say the manufacturer of the flatbed, but some manufactured flatbeds. I've been looking at how they do this, the tray, and I'm gonna do it roughly the same way. So I'm gonna try and probably redesign the wheel, try and copy what they got. So, but that's how that works. So the next step is I'm going to take this right here. We're going to check a straight edge across through here. I'm going to grind this towards fairly straight. I got parts here where the well used to be. You can see right there where it's not anymore. So I won't have to grind as much in the middle, just mainly right here. And then I'm going to grind that and we'll measure off to over here. We're going to try and get that 49 inches because it just happens to be that piece of metal we got is 49 inches wide. And so once we get that, then I'm going to measure off of my starting point and figure out where I'm going to cut my square. So when we go to measure off to cut the square, I'll walk you guys through that. But until then, I'm going to grind that to a straight line. I'm going to go ahead and take this stuff off the inner fender here where the fender used to be and smooth that out. So yeah, here comes the fun part. So we went ahead and cut this out after we got our they got plasma line. Of course, I told you I was going to grind it, and I grind it down somewhat smooth. There's a gap a little bit, but we're going to fill that, not a problem. So I'm going to weld it all the way across. And then the way we done this was, and I'm going to set the camera up here, that way I can kind of show you. If I'm looking straight down at it. Then we're going to kind of test something while we're doing it here. So, that back there was our straightest edge. And I'm trying to talk at you. You can't hardly see me because of the angle we're at here. But this was our straightest edge back here at the back. So what we done was is we measured off of there, and I got 2-inch angle that is on each side of the gooseneck hitch. And so I had a little bit of buffer. I wanted to do about in the middle of it, and it was all right to not be exactly in the middle. It won't matter. So I measured to the middle of the angle, and Dad made a mark there. Dad laid this out while I was grinding, and then we cut it with a cutoff wheel, one of our favorite tools, because I didn't want to take the plasma, because the plasma does a quick job compared to the cutoff wheel, but it's not as pretty. And so made a mark there at 27 1/4, and we made a mark there at 41 1/4, and I cut across. And then we made a mark from each side at 37 1/2, and you can't see that from there, but that's 37 1/2 from that side wall, and it's the same way from this side. So that gave me my opening. And so what I'll do is I'll take the welder and weld these corners on here, and we're also going to weld the seams of the metal together. And when I put my piece in here, I'm going to nip the corners off of it to where it doesn't interfere with the weld. Plus I don't want sharp corners on my plate as it moves back and forth anyways. And best part is now I'm on top of this, and this is the way it's going to be. I may do some sheet metal down in here, but I don't think so. I think I'm just going to leave that open. But I can pull that out and pull that ball out just like that. Set it back down in there, and I can see the pin go back. So that worked out real nice. So, but yep, so I'm gonna go ahead and start welding all this stuff down, or at least fully tack it today, and we'll move on. All right, guys, we worked most of the day yesterday, and I worked enough today. I'm gonna show you what we got done, but I'm ready to call it. So, but this is kind of exciting because it's all welded in. Get my step stool here. There we go, up here where I can see. It's all welded in. Gooseneck hitch is done and ready to use with the exceptions of the electrical. Of course, I've got to fix my little plate on there and make sure it all. I'm gonna take a flapper weld all the welds later, clean all them up to where they don't have any little pokies sticking up off of them before we paint everything. And I still gotta cut the toolboxes in and move the bed rails and so on and so forth. But so as of right now, and I've said that we're going to keep track of the money, so I'm gonna write this all down. That way we can start keeping tabs. I've got dust or something all over the side of my face. $600 for the bed, $180 in angle iron. The other metal came from the farm. I've got roughly, I don't have the right price from Brian, but I know I'm close, about $400 in sheet metal, because we got the piece we used there to replace the fender wells and other posts, and I've got another piece sitting back there, which is my smooth piece, which I'm going to use for bedsides and stuff. So there's 400, so 780, 400. So now we're looking at 1180 right now in cost, and so yes, that's getting a little pricey, but when I get this done, it's going to be the equivalent of like a tradesman's bed, kind of. Those are like 10 grand. So keep in mind, when I say flatbed on a budget, it's going to be a budget toolbox body, flatbed, side rails. It's not just a standard cut and dry flatbed with no skirting. This thing's going to have fenders and everything, which, by the way, I guess I forgot fenders too. I've got another $150 in fenders sitting in the other room. So what, that puts us 12 and then 1330 right now. So but I think we've got enough metal to do most of what we got to do left. So 1330, we might have to buy another piece of metal, but I'm going to try not to. That ought to be the cost of the metal right there, bed and all, because we're going to reuse some of the old stuff we cut out too for toolbox bottoms and so on and so forth. So but guys, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you later.